Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of It's a Football Thing. An episode of, how do we say this? Mixed emotions, maybe, with some probably feeling a little more happy and relieved, some starting to sweat a little bit down there in the box below me, and some like me who are just getting used to the season as it unfolds. But we are looking forward to being back with you, obviously, and recapping some Premier League action. There has been plenty of that. As always, the boys are all here. We've got RJ. How you going, my man?
I'm one of the happy co-hosts here amongst the crowd here tonight. So feeling good, obviously a little bit relieved, and we'll go through all of that. But also my legs are feeling a little bit sore. I went for a good 7.5K walk today as part of this mental wellbeing fundraiser. So if you have a spare dollar or spare kind words, feel free to click on the link below in the description and help a brother out. But yeah, all good, boys, all good.
And what about you, Robbie? Doing well, my man?
Yeah, mate. Bit of the opposite to RJ. I'm the flat one tonight. I'm all right, boys. Always looking forward to catching up with you, the live chat, and talking football, even if it's not the best of circumstances. But I'm here and ready to go.
100%. And if you are new to the channel or you haven't for some crazy reason, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the like button. It helps get our content seen, and we are trying to grow. And the other thing is, come back later, come back tomorrow. Just type a comment on the video. Let us know who made the best point or the worst point of the night. Tell RJ why his opinions are wrong. Just come on, leave a comment, because that also helps with YouTube's insane algorithm. RJ, I'm going to throw over to you, man, because you're running the show tonight.
Well, I was just wanted to hear from you, Scott. How are you going, mate? You asked how we're doing, but how are you doing?
Oh, me, look, hey, I'm back to work this week after 4 months lockdown. Getting out of bed's been a little bit tricky, but we're here. Football, nothing gives you some energy quite like it. So
I hear you, mate. I've had to get up early as well and take the little fella to school now. These getting up before midday stuff, mate, it's just not on. I don't know what's going on. I know Robbie gets up at the crack of dawn, and unless Chelsea are playing, there's no reason to get up at that hour, guys. But look, let's forget all of that. Let's say a big hello to those who've joined us here. We've got fellow Blues brother Ben in the house. Blue is the colour indeed. We've got Shano, Bruce out. I wonder what he's alluding to. That was an interesting game, I've got to say. And even the stuff that was happening in the stands, quite surreal scenes, to be honest with you. We've got our man, Dan. How you going, Dan? We've got also, we haven't seen him in a little while, Concierge of Crime. By the way, his tweet before about rocking up with Sarri styles. I love that. Not so happy about Lazio at the moment, but we won't go there. And my boy, Taran. G'day, legend. Good to see you in the house. But let's get into the serious business. First game I want us to talk about, and Legs are Rudy. Good to see you in the house, my man, by the way. I like that. He did it himself, apparently, Legs are Rudy. I don't know about that.
After 4 months of lockdown, getting into a barber in Sydney, I reckon I had a better chance of an Olympic gold medal, because getting to a barber was insane. So I stood in the garage, gave it a bit of a trim. My wife wouldn't let me cut my sons again, but man, I'm feeling good. Feeling good.
Your beard game's coming along too, and so is yours, Robbie. We should be calling ourselves the IFT/beard gang. But Manchester United, Leicester City, 4-2 to the Foxes. Ollie outfoxed again. Robbie, we'll get your thoughts first and foremost. What was the go there, legend?
There wasn't much of a go, to be honest, mate. Look, what can I say? This is all losses feel crap, but this one here, it was a real big turning point, I think, for a lot of fans. This one, it's definitely turned me. You again, as I always say, you will not get the Ollie out of my mouth, but I have come out and said it's time for a change now. I think Ollie has taken us to, or his ceiling of where he can take us. He's done a lot of good for the club, but it's come to the point now with this squad that he's got now, he's just not getting the best out of the team, or they're not performing, or a combination of both. But it's not happening at the moment. We're on a downwards trajectory when we're supposed to be on the up and aiming to be challenging this year. And this early on in the season, with the warnings we're seeing already and the points that are starting to open up when we haven't played any of the big guns yet, is quite worrying. So, look, as far as the game went, I thought we started out okay away to Leicester. Obviously, Mason scored a screamer 25 yards out. And,
Cracking goal, by the
a
way.
great goal, man. And I've talked him up all the time. I think he's a young talent. I think he can go. He's got a high ceiling himself. But after that, for about another 10 minutes, we controlled the game until obviously we made Harry Maguire made his first mistake at the back, and obviously Tillemans with a nice, great finish himself got the equaliser. Number one, I'm just going to say quickly, as soon as I seen that lineup, Harry Maguire should not have been in that lineup for me. The press conference the day before, Solskjaer himself came out and said, Harry Maguire's had one training session. He clearly was not fit. I'm surprised when I seen him thrown into the lineup. He probably had his worst game as a United player ever in that game. He was involved in the conceding of all 4 goals. Look, as a collective, the team wasn't good enough, but he had a mare. Luke Shaw had a mare. And the sad thing is lately, the team has been having too many bad days at the office. Every now and then at the start of the season, it's a bad day at the office. But we've been consistently not great in average this season with a better squad. So, look, it's just not happening at the moment. The boys obviously not winning. Everyone's down on confidence. We went into the second half, and mate, the second half was worse from us. They just completely battered us. As Solskjaer said, our best player and our man of the match was De Gea on the field, and he conceded 4 goals. So
your keeper should never be a man of the match. If your keeper's the man of the match, something's gone wrong in your team.
He made some massive saves. It could have been a lot more than 4, And it's just crazy how it just all fell apart in the last 20 minutes. We went in. It was the 70th minute when they got the equaliser, and then after that it was just bang. They got the second, and then it was criminal. Rashford got a nice equaliser. I'm like, okay, 80th minute, we'll take a point here, which, to be honest, still wasn't a good result because we needed to be winning that game. 30 seconds.
And it probably would have put the papers over the cracks in some respects had they held on, because you were being outplayed, rightfully,
we were getting battered.
But 20 seconds after that, that's a microcosm of how big the problem is, I think.
That's a coach killer, mate. 20 seconds, court celebrating. Vardy's free in the box. So everyone I don't know what anyone was doing. And he scored another great goal. And then they finished us off 4-2 to make it, to really put the nail in the coffin. So, look, a lot of... Obviously, the media hasn't helped. There's all these little stories coming in, and actually among the fans, man, like even the ones that even go to the games. I was listening to a few podcasts today, and a lot of people are coming out now saying, "Look, we love Ollie. He's done a good job, but it's time now. This team needs to be going to the next level, and we don't think he's going to get there." So, he's very much under pressure now, especially with the fixture list coming up. It feels like the beginning of the end at the moment.
Scott, I want to bring you into this because as the neutral like myself, or perhaps we're not neutral, we're the opposite of United, neutral. But we'll pretend you're neutral just for argument's sake. I'm not sure if you caught Pogba's comments after the match, but it seems like there is a consistency here, and you listen to Talk Sport, and we continue to point to the same diagnosis that they're a gifted, talented squad. Yes, they are short of a defensive midfielder. Not the worst midfielders, but they are short of that to go to next level. But it's just, you're talking about someone in the hot seat that just has advanced them to a certain stage, but when push comes to shove, he's just not on the same level as those around him. And you saw those comments from Pogba, I take it, Scott. And what do you think now? Is this just validating your thoughts that you keep echoing that Ollie's not the man, or is it deeper than that, do you think?
Oh, look, Ollie's not the man. And I've been very clear about my feelings on Ollie since we started this pod. Robbie and I butted heads over this a few times, but quite frankly, behind every poorly performing manager, there are also poorly performing players. Now, Leicester are no easy beats, so I'm not saying that Man U had a divine right to go and win that match. But there have been matches this season that they should have got 3 points in, or should have been more comfortable in, and they haven't. You've got someone like Ronaldo there who needs to lift. You've got Pogba in there who's had moments. Harry Maguire should do better. with his price tag, his expertise, his experience. There's a lot of players not doing their bit too, and it's the same. I see a lot of parallels between Man United and Arsenal because it's easy to lump it on the manager, but it's the players too. And I'm guessing Robbie probably wasn't expecting me to come out with this kind of stance tonight. He was probably expecting me to go hard on Ollie, but I don't think Ollie's the man, and I feel like that dressing room now with Cristiano Ronaldo in it is a lot harder to manage. There are egos in there. And I think the players have let Ollie down, but I also think Ollie's tactics and decisions have let them down too. So it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. And for clubs, you've got two options. You go and sack all your players. Can't do that. You need someone to take the hit. And unfortunately, I honestly think Ollie is the first manager to go this season. It's him or Steve Bruce for me.
Yeah, it just represents the cheaper option, I think, too, because our club's a perfect example of sometimes it's not even the manager's fault entirely per se, but commercially speaking, you can't offload a whole team. Because the one thing, I'm not backing Ollie here, but the one thing, if I was playing devil's advocate, was they done a good job, United, to weather the storm, whether or not it's through sheer luck, De Gea, or the fact that it was just either way, they were keeping themselves in the contest, clawed their way back in, they're on level terms. But as we said, the manner in which they switched off from kickoff, from the restart and conceded, to me, that's not an Ollie problem. The players have got to take some ownership of that, because you don't need Thomas Tuchel, you don't need Jurgen Klopp to say, get your head screwed on after kickoff, because that was just schoolboy stuff. So, look, that's why I asked you the question, Scott. Do you think it's a bit more deep-seated? And I know, Robbie, you're keen to sort of retort, and I think we'll get your thoughts, and then we'll sort of pivot on to the next clash.
Yeah, look, no, I was just going to wrap it up with saying, for me, I also wanted, like I said, I'm not Ollie out, but I also wanted to end on a good relationship, because I think if it continues the next 3 weeks and we have a few more bad results, Liverpool coming up, City coming up, of all teams, I don't want it to turn toxic. That's the thing I'm feared about most. Because there's already people I've seen on Twitter and stuff saying, get out of our club, you're not a legend anymore. People can't separate Ollie the legend, the player, and Ollie the manager right now. And for me, I don't want it to get to a point where it gets toxic and all this. Ollie will always be loved, and he is a legend of the club. But like I said, I think it's just, the truth is, he's reached the ceiling. Thank you very much. I just want to part ways peacefully. Like I said, a perfect example today of another pod I was listening to. They said, what's the big difference between United and like Chelsea, City, and Liverpool at the moment? Those three have top world-class managers. And I'm not scared of saying Ollie is not a world-class manager. He's got a world-class team, but he's never going to get to that Tuchel, Klopp, or Pep kind of caliber. So at the moment, that's the proof is in the pudding. He's not there, and we need to get to that step. So that's why, for me, I'd like to see part of the ways, for me, as soon as possible, because I just don't want it to get toxic.
To me, I know the smack talk on the Glazers stopped as soon as they brought back Ronaldo. Like that went MIA. But to me, it's borderline negligent of the Glazers to have let this occur for so long. The Glazers, if I was a Man United fan, I would be spitting fire about the Glazers, because the fact that they've let this continue is ridiculous. They need higher standards for that club. Man United are one of, if not the biggest club in world football. Pains me to say it. But right now, the club's, the ambition of the fans and of that badge is not being matched by the ambition of your owners, despite the fact that they brought in the players.
It's a good point.
They haven't shown that ambition with the manager, and to me, it's negligent. I'd be furious.
The difference between us and Chelsea, for instance, Chelsea sacked Frank last year because they were jeopardizing a title race. They won't make a move until we're jeopardizing Champions League positioning. So if we're dropping now and we look like he won't make a Champions League spot, that's when they'll act, because they just want their Champions League money at the end of the season. They're not worried about winning trophies. As long as they get their money, the Champions League money in their pocket, it's been a reoccurring thing. Every time we've dropped out of the top four and went to the Europa League, they're the years that we've spent the crazy amount of money to try and get back into the Champions League. Every year, for the past, all our other managers, when we got to the Champions League, it's like, okay, we got our money, we're in the top four. and we haven't been back. Oh, this year we have been back because we do want to go to the next level. But that's what been the recurring theme in the last few years.
Robbie, take it from me, mate, as someone who's living it. You fall out of that Champions League kind of club, mate, it's not easy to get back now. The standard of the Premier League is improving rapidly. We've now got Newcastle who potentially could become a threat. Mate, you don't want to be falling out of that Champions League. The fact that I don't need a Stan Sports subscription says it all. You don't want to end up not subscribing.
Well, it's actually a nice segue. I was talking about Champions League. I know Legs Rooney keeps forgetting, so I better mention it for him. But just in case you didn't know, Chelsea are the reigning Champions League winners. So Legs Rooney, if you're listening, just had to remind you, my friend. Look, we've spoken enough about United. They are a topic that I love. I know Talk Sport likes to go on about, and we heard Craig Foster talk about on that Inside Football podcast. I know, Robbie, you listened to that as well earlier today, so go check that out because they were great, Joe and the Inside Football podcast. But a game I do want to talk about, which, Scott, I want to pick up on something you brought up, and I'm not sure if it was a bit of tongue-in-cheek or if you were genuinely serious, but you and perhaps Paul Scholes have something more familiar than I'd like to admit, but you made the comment, if your goalkeeper's your man at a match, then there's some serious problems. Now, the first thing I'll say to that is, obviously, it's not great when the keeper's asked to do more than what they're supposed to do. But at the same time, a striker scores a penalty or a tap-in, do you blame the striker for scoring a tap-in? No, the keeper's world-class and doing a bang-up job and keeping the ball out of the back of the net. That's what separates the best from the rest. My recap of the game was, for the first 65 minutes, we did a very good job in suppressing Brentford. They did hardly anything in that first opening bit. We took our lead, deservedly so. Ben Chilwell with another super strike following the one he did against Southampton. But what the problems of old crept back into Chelsea, that being we have failed to be ruthless in attack and really consolidate our lead and give teams a sniff to come back. And that's exactly what the Bees did. That last 20 minutes was one of the most ferocious attempts to try to get back into a match I'd seen in a long time. And the crowd were phenomenal. They really lifted Brentford. And Thomas Frank did some really smart subs to get them back into the game. And conversely, I feel Thomas Tuchel, while I understood the subs he made at the time, it didn't have the positive effect to try to wring back the arm wrestle. It was really about, on one part of the game, showing our class on the ball. Then in our last 20 minutes was really demonstrating that rock-solid resilience at the back. And again, Super Spider-Man Mendy, what a legend he was. And Malang Sarr, Premier League debut. So without Thiago Silva and Antonio Rudiger, all of our centre-backs are under 26, and that's quite rare for a Premier League side these days. But there was a baptism of fire, particularly for Malang Sarr, but 10 interceptions or 10 clearances. It was a phenomenal effort, and at the end of the day, result is greater than performance, and these are the kind of games that can separate first and third. So for me, proud of that. Obviously, want to improve on our attack going forward because we can't. This is not sustainable. What did you think, Robbie? I'll go to you first.
Mate, I didn't really catch much of this game but the highlights, so you pretty much wrapped it up. As obviously, you guys were after us, so I did go to bed pretty upset after our game. But yeah, I did see the Chilwell goal, I think it was, to get the win over the line. And yeah, I've seen some of the saves that he is one of the most, besides De Gea, I could probably say he's one of the most informed keepers in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, fair call. Scotty?
Hard to argue with Robbie. I mean, I know being you, RJ, you'll always try and spin some kind of positivity and optimism about Chelsea.
3 points, mate. Top of the table.
You're top of the table. But I did warn you guys last week, Brentford was not going to be easy. And they showed you what a handful they can be. You were very lucky. He was in form. I think they hit the post or the crossbar.
Yeah, they did twice, mate, in the first half and in the second half.
Brentford were quite wasteful. They should have come out of that with something. I would be concerned about the fact that Lukaku has the same amount of goals as Aubameyang. When Aubameyang's missed some games with COVID and Aubameyang's supposedly washed up, the fact that Lukaku's only hit 3 Premier League goals, to me, Legs Rooney's brought it out here. I don't think it's panic stations. There's no questioning his talent. But I feel like Chelsea need to unlock
put games
him.
to bed.
That they need to find. I actually think it's your chance creation. I saw some stats floating around today about your chance creation. I couldn't quote them exactly, but you're not creating the chances that you were creating last season, and
even less than the top four significantly. Total shots and shots on target as well. So that's why I mentioned the overall attacks. The issue.
And it's not. Look, you're at the moment you're looking really good, but you're not going to win a Premier League title relying on Mendy to do this every week, and with Lukaku not having his potential maximised. So I'm no doubt about his talent. I know he'll still bang in goals. He'll hit double digits for sure. But I would be a little nervous because Liverpool, who I know we'll get to, are humming. And if United were to sack Ollie and get someone incompetent, this season's still very early. It's still very young, and you might have a little bit more pressure up there than you currently do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Look, I'll weigh in quickly on Lukaku. So obviously last week I mentioned that no need for panic. It's one of those situations where the narrative quickly changes. Had he buried one or two of his chances? But I think for us, it's definitely something. It's a monitoring brief at the moment because he isn't someone that's going to press aggressively like some of our more other athletic, or not even athletic, but the type of striker that runs as harder and gets more involved in the build-up. But I think for us, it's a combination of Tuchel getting not just the right formation or system set up for him to thrive, but also settling on a preferred attacking trio and midfield behind him. Because I think what probably has gone under the radar of late is we've had a lot of rotation in midfield and in the front three. And I think because of that, the lack of chemistry is a bit of a contributing factor. But I think also Big Rom needs to also make himself more available. I've seen a few runs he's been making and players haven't been finding him, etc. But definitely not panicking just yet because I've seen enough quality in him already. And I think it'll just be, if the fact that we're still on top of the ladder, not playing brilliantly and have all this room for opportunity, it's all uphill from here as far as I'm concerned. But I'll just quickly check what the chat has to say. We've also got Daniel's comment here. Exactly right. It's diversity of contribution. So for me, of course, we want Romelu to get 25, 30 plus Premier League goals. But then there's the issue of concentration risk. What happens if we become super dependent on him and nobody else is pulling their weight? So for me, it's everybody around him as well. They've all got to lift their game because, frankly, the amount of goals we're scoring, the amount of chances created is simply not good enough and it's not sustainable. But we take the result and we move on. Any more thoughts before we pivot to the next game?
Not really. I think we summed it up pretty well, man.
Yeah, and so did the chat. Now, Scott, mate, I was hanging on the edge of my seat. Conor Gallagher, what a contribution. Viera was on his hands and knees. Come on, I've got to get one over my old boys. And then Lacazette, 95th minute. What was he doing? Why did he have to break all of our hearts like that, Scott? Tell us what happened, mate.
Didn't break my heart, man. And you know what? I kind of want to open up by saying there's been a lot of people coming out on social media saying, why would Arsenal fans celebrate? You look like idiots celebrating that goal. Nah. Your team scores a last-minute goal that means a point or 3 points. I'm celebrating. What do you want fans to do? Sit there and twiddle their thumbs? You celebrate your team's goals. So I'm not buying any of that nonsense. I'm not buying any of it's only Crystal Palace, because there are no easy games in the Premier League. And the sooner teams start learning that, the better. We saw Brentford push the champions of Europe and beat us, and they're newly promoted. This is not an easy league. There's a reason it's so successful. So I'm not buying any of that nonsense about Arsenal fans celebrating. You celebrate goals. That's football. That's what you do.
I suppose the context was, though, was it overzealous? You were versing an inferior team towards the lower end of the ladder at home. No, you rescued a point in the dying stage. It was an equaliser. That's the point, though.
No, I don't care, mate. You find me someone who sits there and watches their team equalise with the last kick of the game and doesn't get off their seat, they're not a football fan. You find me someone that doesn't celebrate that, they don't love their club. They might want to be a little bit edgy on social media. So not buying into that nonsense. But what I'm also not buying into is our poor offensive performance. And I know that sounds a little bit funny considering we scored 2 goals, but Arsenal are not firing. We're shooting nothing out of the cannon at the moment. It was only when Lacazette came on that our attack started to look good. And the same way Robbie has to admit I got him about the Ollie argument, he got me on the Lacazette argument because I've not been Laca's biggest fan. I've been very critical of him. But I have said a few times that under this system that Mikel Arteta wants to play, he has the attributes that best match it. So he should be leading the line. He can hold the ball up better than Aubameyang. He brings others into the play better than Aubameyang. Now, I don't even think we drop Aubameyang because I've not been happy with the form of Pepe or Saka. So I think we're at a point where those two maybe need to fight out for the starting spot on the right, and we play Aubameyang on the left. That's how I will be lining up for our next match. Laca up top, Aubameyang on the left, and Saka or Pepe, whoever's training harder, whoever's looking fitter, fresher, put them in. Because we can't not play Lacazette in this system. Am I happy with Arteta's system? Am I happy with the way he's set us up? No. Do I think similarly to what Rob's saying that another manager could come in and do a better job? I do. But at the moment, we've got him there. And Davide, with a good shout, I didn't think that Viera was going to be the first manager sacked. I really was unsure, but he's doing quite well. And it's still early in the season. Anything could change. But Viera is doing a great job with Palace. Conor Gallagher was brilliant. Benteke, of course, decides
We've been giving him praise for weeks, but I hope you're talking about Scott, because we've been on the Viera train and we said it a couple of weeks in a row now that he's been improving week on week. And you go back and watch, and that'll be the first thing I've said.
I've smashed him since the start of the season. I can put my hand up. I had him in a relegation. Like I said, I watched him. Like I said, when he was at Nice, I watched him. I didn't watch much of him in America. I thought as well with all those players off contract, I didn't think they had a chance, to be honest. But yeah, that's someone who hasn't got a great experience as well. He's come into the Premier League, one of the hardest divisions in the world to do, and he's put he's strung players from everywhere, and he's getting the best out of those players. And credit to him, they're playing decent football. And I don't know exactly where they are on the table right now, but yeah, they've beaten Spurs. They've got a result today against Arsenal.
Should have beaten Arsenal.
They're doing really well. So, yeah, look, I put my hand up, like you said as well. It's a long season. Anything can happen. But the way they're going at the moment, he's getting the tune out of him 100%. I have to put up my hand. I'm wrong at the moment.
Yeah, and look at Calvin, again, I think Calvin and I have similar outlooks. I'm not going to be ranting, swearing, raving, saying, Arteta out, get rid of it. I just think that he's not the man to take us forward. I want someone to come in and do that. And you can see with someone like Patrick Viera, who's had limited time, limited funds, but his team are playing. His team are playing with some kind of identity, some kind of character, and some kind of system. I still couldn't articulate to you what Mikel Arteta's system is. And that seriously disappoints me that I can't tell you Arsenal style right now. So, look, it's still early. I'm not going to read too much into the defense because it had been pretty good up to this point. But the attack needs to start humming. Definitely.
Speaking of attacking that's humming, how good were the Reds? Liverpool, red hot, 5-0, 5-star performance, new manager bounce, yeah, right, for Watford. They were completely picked apart. And we talked about title contenders and the pretenders and contenders and the have and have-nots. We very much, I think, are in total agreement that Liverpool mean business. And again, Mo Salah with the goods. Now, before we go into one of his fantastic goals, for me, I actually really loved that opening goal. That outside of the ball, that pass he did for Mane, first time finish to set the scene. I'm no Liverpool fan. In fact, I can't stand Liverpool, but that was quality. That performance, that attacking display, they were relentless. And yeah, they were more than fully deserving of that smashing of poor Watford. But Scott, open up, mate. You saw it. Annihilated them.
Again, I've said it. People need to stop sleeping on Liverpool, man. If they can get through the African Cup of Nations when Salah's not there, and they keep playing like this, they win the league. That they are playing better football than Chelsea at the moment. Rock and roll football is in full swing. I would be terrified to play Liverpool at the moment, in all seriousness. Salah for Ballon d'Or, maybe not this year.
No, next year, I think.
Shout next year. He's already setting the benchmarks. To me, he's the best player in the world at the moment. I know that's a big shout.
Robbie, thoughts on that quickly? Do you think? Robbie, do you agree?
I tipped him earlier on for Golden Boot this season. So, yeah, you can't say I've got nothing against him. He's the best, most informed player in the world at the moment. Like I said, I tipped him for Golden Boot and he's more than on his way there already. So,
RJ, what do you reckon?
He's definitely, look, for me,
Are you
exactly.
talking about Ballon d'Or? No,
not Ballon d'Or.
No.
Best player in the world at the moment.
Right,
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. Yeah.
The most informed, definitely. So yeah, and I'd have to say, yeah, you have to be probably the most as well. So yeah, I have nothing against him. He's scoring goals, he's getting assists from a wing position. He's doing everything he needs to do at the moment. They're winning. You can't say nothing bad against him at the moment.
PS guys, make sure you smash that like button. We're just into double digits. I know there are some of you watching who have forgotten to hit it. Here's your friendly reminder. Please click that button. It helps get our content seen. And if you could come back tomorrow at some point, just leave a comment on there. It really helps boost the video.
Beautiful.
But Liverpool, sorry, I'll finish my thoughts on them. They're looking great. The attacking football's in full swing. I obviously worry about their depth. But right now, while everyone's fit, they're humming. And I think they were missing Fabinho?
Yes.
And he's a big part of how they play. And Firmino,
and Allison as well. They didn't even play with Allison either, I don't think.
Yeah, so they were just totally dominant. Robbie knows I had Salah triple captained before the round. I'd used my triple captain boost, and right before I thought, new manager bounce for Watford, will they make it tough? And I turned it off. Should have left it on. What about you boys? What do you think?
Robbie?
Mate, what can I say? It was the start of a bad night for me. I had the Liverpool game on my iPad. I kept dropping out of pro clubs with Scotties. And then obviously I watched us lose. And then now we've got to play Liverpool next week. So it's just all piling up on top. Look, man, they're like a well-oiled machine. Like, it's just amazing. The attack, just bang, 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 bang. And like I said, that's the thing I respect about Klopp. He sets up the same thing every week, the same system, the same players, you're going to play. It's 4-3-3. They all do their job, and they just score goals like crazy, man. Doesn't matter if there's a low block, doesn't matter if there's a counter-attacking team. Like I said, if they can get through that January without some of their big boys and they don't cop any injuries like they did last year, mate, Look at where they are at the moment, mate. They're not conceding too many goals either, and they're scoring a bunch load. So at the moment, they're doing all the right things.
You know what? If I find interesting, we're talking about, and Scott, you brought it up around Liverpool's playing better than Chelsea and City in some respects too. The attack is just right up here. The problems that we're having is they've got the utopian state. Like, we talk about our floundering front three, but you look at that front three. Mo Salah, he's obviously spearheading them, but Firmino, hat-trick. Mane, he hit his 100th Premier League goal. No penalties, I believe.
Jota doesn't mind a goal.
Jota. But that's the thing. This is the thing Craig Foster brought up in that other pod we're listening to earlier. The difference between the top managers and the ones underneath is that regardless of who's in there, yes, there might be a slight degradation because not all players have an equal skill set, but most of the time they know how to fulfill the role and they slot in seamlessly. And look what Klopp is doing now for Liverpool. It's a perfect example of getting absolute most out of players that if they were to go to other teams, I'm looking at players like Henderson, I'm looking at players like Firmino, they, in my opinion, are playing above themselves under this type of system and in this type of environment. So that's a telltale sign of someone that's a superior man manager and tactician at heart. And that's why he's transformed that club. They were in a dismal state before he turned up, and now they've gone on to sustainable success. So total respect for what Klopp's doing. But I just want to now move over to another London team that we are not all fans of and happen to spoil the new money party at Newcastle. Tottenham, you came from behind, 2 minutes down, Callum Wilson. There was obviously that major off-field incident with the person in the crowd, and thankfully that they are okay and in stable condition as far as we know. But Tottenham, Kane, Son, things are starting to tick again. They clawed themselves back and thoroughly dominated the Magpies in India. I'm not sure if you boys caught any of the game, extended highlights of the full match, but from what I saw, because I saw the extended highlights of it, Tottenham played pretty well. Like, I thought the Magpies had a few moments throughout, but overall, Tottenham were full value for that win. And the question I have for both of you, and I'll go to you, Rob, first, is do you think this is the start of their slow recovery, or was that just a bit of an outlier performance?
I think it's hard to go off the one performance. I did quite get on. I did watch a bit of this game live, and firstly, I had to say, if that was a FIFA game, I thought whoever picked the kit for Tottenham was off their head, mate. It was pretty much black and white versus the purple and white. Honestly, it was one of those ones. I can't believe they didn't just play in a white kit. It was so on the eye. It was hard on the eye. But look, I said it last week in the predictions. I said Tottenham, I thought, was going to win quite comfortably. You know how I feel about the whole Newcastle thing at the moment. I don't think anything's going to happen anytime soon. And yeah, I said that the quality was going to take over. Harry Kane finally broke his Premier League duck. Song, I think, is always class. They had their usual link up. I still think it's a bit early to say that is this the beginning of something again. It's a win against someone who they should be beating. Newcastle, they're still in the relegation zone at the moment. So give them a couple more weeks and maybe a couple more wins, and see if their chemistry continues and Harry Kane keeps scoring goals, and then we can maybe say something. But at the moment, it was just a regular win. I think they should be doing at the moment.
Can't dive too far into it, though. I mean,
yeah.
And welcome, Glenn.
Glenn.
Nice to see him, make new face. Always nice to see a new face. But I think Glenn's on the money. They'll get a little run going. They'll bottle it come February. That's what they do, Spursy things. And let's put this into perspective. It was a good performance. I didn't get to watch the match, saw the highlights. But they also did that to a team that hasn't won a Premier League game this season. Newcastle is sitting second last, and they've not won a match. So let's put it into perspective. It's not like they went and did that against a team with some serious credentials. And for Liverpool, as George had said in the live chat, for Newcastle, as George had said in the live chat, they need to start making moves. They're in a similar camp in terms of manager. Steve Bruce, it's not happening. It's not happening now. They need to act on that really quickly, because it would be absolutely shambolic to start their new era as with the richest owners in world football and do that in the championship. So I know Shano won't be happy if they're watching, but I think they need to pull the trigger, bring in a new manager, and really plan their business in January carefully. So
it's an easier said than done though thing, isn't it? Because obviously it's not like they're walking into a team that needs some tweaks. They need a broom to sweep through that whole team, basically. Mm-hmm. So firstly, you've got to work out which manager wants to come and perform that surgery, essentially. And then after that, time is of the essence. Each game that passes and they don't get the right result, the closer they are to the drop. So they're in a real predicament. And so it's going to definitely be very fascinating to see what happens, not only after January, but the moments leading up to January, and the amount of panic stations that are happening there, and the frantic nature of Bruce, and if he goes and who are they chasing, and the players that all of a sudden, because a lot of these players know that their heads are on the chopping block, you'll start to see a lot less effort put in, you'd think, and it's only going to make their situation worse. So, yeah, I don't know. Short term, if I was a Magpies fan, it's a little bit of a 50-50 at the moment for me.
What do you make of this from George? Is Steve Bruce the worst manager to reach 1,000 career games? I couldn't answer off the top of my head, George, only because I can't think of many others. I would say it's a close run between him and Sir Alex Ferguson, probably. One of the two.
And rounding it off with Arsene Wenger, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nah, look, man, I don't know. It's Steve Bruce. I'm not going to say much about it, to be honest. He hasn't had any crazy teams. He had Sutherland. He's got Newcastle. I don't know. You can't really judge him on that. I don't know. I can't. Yeah, it's a hard one, that one.
And I'll take my honorary sitting on the fence for this one. Though I haven't
you
sat on the fence for a while. Been a while since I've had that mantle.
You've got splinters in your bum from sitting on that fence.
Oh, mate, you got to get new material. Honestly, speaking of new material, this is a good question on that theme because obviously it remains topical. Who's the ideal interim manager for the Magpies? So obviously the key word being interim, with the change of heart coming next season. I'll go first. I think in the first instance, I would be inclined to go with Eddie Howe. To be honest, I reckon he's been out of business for a while. I know his name's starting to pipe up again, but he was doing some really good things at the time before he left Bournemouth. But for me, because who else is available? We've got Conte there, but we know Conte likes to deal with money and deal with actual professional players. So I don't know. They talk Lampard, they talk Rodgers, who've rejected him, but interim manager, I don't know. The joke is you can get Big Sam to come in and you help him avoid the relegation drop.
If you don't want to get relegated, who's the man? Who do you call in when you want to stay in the Premier League?
Don't get Ghostbusters, call Sam. But I don't know. What do you think, Robbie?
Oh, no, it's a hard one. Look, you said Eddie Howe. I think it was actually funny. I think Shane said today on Twitter, he goes, yeah, I'm sure he said something like he didn't want Eddie Howe. So he said it's not much of an upgrade. But look, here's the Newcastle fan. For me, I really couldn't care less, to be honest. Man. I just don't see him attracting a big guy straight away. I told you, I've said it a million times. I think it's going to be a very slow process, and I think they're going to have to pump a lot of money and bribing people to come into this project.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Mo here.
Proven success story,
mate. We're already past that story, mate.
Solskjaer could be looking for a job soon. Maybe Ollie might be the best interim manager. No, but in all seriousness, I think you're onto something with Eddie Howe. And I think that key word in the question was interim manager. I don't think Eddie Howe is the manager that they want to start their era with. But I think he'd do a much better job than Big Sam because they do have some talented players there. And they will go and do some business in January.
Yeah. So. Now, there were some, obviously, the rest of the Premier League, there were a lot of other fascinating matches, and we did obviously focus on the ones we have focused on, but the other ones I just want to bring up, and we'll jump around the grounds and get your thoughts. But some of the other results I just want to bring up were Southampton securing a 1-0 result, hard fought against Leeds. I thought they were full value for it, although they almost threw it away towards the end. Wolves impressively came from behind in the last 10 minutes, 3-2 against Aston Villa. I know, 3-2 against Aston Villa, who I was gobsmacked by that result, and just the manner. 3 goals in 10 minutes, as I said, was truly fascinating. Man City unpredictably went and got themselves a 2-0 win against Burnley. But also we had West Ham with a very interesting and nail-biting 1-0 win against Everton away. So I don't know, boys, did you have any immediate thoughts on those games? Because they were exciting in themselves. To me, the pick out of that bunch was, unsurprisingly, the Wolves 3-2 one. But any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean,
sorry, you go first.
No, man, I was just going to say, I think you've kind of given a good summation. The big matches to me, we've kind of covered. But I think you have some good points on the other. Southampton, that another good win. I mean, I've kind of thrown a bit of shade Southampton's way, but they are pulling out some results. So kudos to them and the job they're doing. Man City did exactly what was expected of them. It's funny to say about Man City, but they almost seem to keep slipping under that radar a little bit. But they're doing things in a nice, organised manner.
I'm just going to say another loss for Bielsa, mate. Another one again.
Well, look at this from George. It's got a good question. At what stage is Bielsa under pressure to keep his job?
No one's batting an eye at it, mate. I don't think they've got a win this year yet.
Could he be the next Newcastle gaffer?
Well, look at that. 8 games, 1 win, I believe, 3 draws and 4 losses. So, yeah, it's not looking good for what's happening over that side of the world. But, hey, you play good football and who cares about the results, hey?
I don't think it's ever been that good. I feel like they did an okay job last season as a newly promoted team. They came up, they won some matches, they had a philosophy.
They're courageous as well.
Yeah, but I mean, that enigma to me faded this season. That bit of second season syndrome. I know David in the chat saying their squad's pretty depleted, but
yeah, but they haven't been depleted the whole season either.
But also the club, if they don't feel they've got the depth, the club have a responsibility to go and improve their squad. So, yeah,
it's interesting. I was just going to say, boys, because I know we're going to look to sort of pack things up and we'll give a bit of announcement of what's happening on Thursday. But obviously the top end of town is looking pretty rosy for the likes of City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Brighton and Tottenham, who keep themselves in the fold, and the likes of United, West Ham slowly starting to drift away a little bit. But as we slowly get down towards the bottom half here, it's looking a bit perilous for the likes of Burnley, Newcastle, Norwich now. Like, we know it's, keep things into perspective here, it's only 3 points between Burnley and Leeds. But then all of a sudden, you're starting to look above them, and one more loss, and then the one above them loses now 6 to 7 points, and 8 points. So now I know we said Norwich, they look like they're bolted on for a departure back to the Championship, but if you're a Burnley fan or you're a Newcastle fan, we know that Newcastle are going to powerhouse probably by in January. But are Burnley now looking a bit precarious for you, or do you think they've still got the steel and guile to dig themselves out? What do you think, Scotty?
Would love to see them drop. Would love
Burnley?
to see them drop. I hate the football they play. I hate their philosophy. I hate the way they kick players more than the ball. I would love to see Burnley get the job.
Stone cold Sean Dyche, mate, would not want to talk to you anytime soon.
It's all right. I'm
happy
happy to
like
chat
this
to him.
every year, man. They seem to get 17th, man, and they're happy with that. As long as they stay in the Premier League, that's a big accomplishment for them. So, look, it's early days, 8 games in. They're going to be in a relegation scrap for the rest of the year, but I don't know. I could see him. I don't know he's going to drop, but I could see him staying in there and getting the 17th at the end of the season.
Fascinating to watch indeed. Now, just as a bit of an update for those who are following closely in terms of the infamous IFT tipping comp, in first place, like Chelsea Football Club, RJ on top, 51 points, Rob rounding up second place in 43, and Scott, top 3, mate. You must be proud on that, with 37 points. So keeping the Arsenal flag flying high.
I still don't trust Daniel. I am, when I find spare time, I'm going to have to go back and add these all up again myself, because I like Daniel. He's a good guy, but I don't trust him.
Adding up's not your thing, so you've fallen over there, mate. So you might need to get the calculator out.
As well, something else that I kind of wanted to show, just for a quick update.
Beautiful.
The Fantasy Premier League competition, Chijoke, I feel like it's been a dance between him and Ben this season for first and second. He's opened up a 5-point lead at the top, and he had a respectable game week with 59. Few interesting people in there. We can see Nick Fasulo, who's an interesting character, sneaking into 7th. Don't know how that's happened. Robbie repping the boys in 10th
Top
place.
10.
Top 10. Love that. We had some big scoring rounds here. George had a good round. Don't know if he's still here.
Right up. Yeah, I noticed that.
Georgie with 82 points. Let's just quickly have a squeeze.
Taught him everything he knows, mate.
Look at that. Captain Salah, Alexander Arnold, McGinn doing well.
Good
it
player.
was good week for George. So well done, George. Congrats. That was one of the highest I saw.
I think I'm top 60 now. I'm not sure.
Well, there's me, 41. And as we look down here, you are, Arch, 48, mate. So
I got 59 points that week. I was pretty happy with that.
Not much between us at this point. Tell everyone what's happening on Thursday night, RJ.
Yeah, well, we are being joined by a special guest. You will have to join us to find out exactly who they are. They are a passionate Reds fan, so they will be gloating, no doubt. But hopefully, they won't be gloating too much as we talk about the upcoming Champions League fixtures as well. So, on top of previewing the Premier League, we are also going to recap the Champions League, do a bit of a deep dive on Liverpool, and also give our thoughts on some upcoming FPL changes to our teams this week. So we will hope to see you there. But before we close things off, final thoughts, boys. I'll go to you first, Robbie.
Oh, sorry, boys. Just quickly, we'll be really quick. We haven't done it for a few weeks. I got 3 quick fires. We haven't done it for a while.
Bring them on. Bring them on.
You guys don't have this one this week. We're unprepared. All right, just a quick one. Sunrise or sunset? Which one do you prefer?
What's the activity, mate?
No, just give us a quick fire, mate. There's no stories to go with it.
I prefer playing FIFA at sunset, mate.
Sunset Brothers. I'll go with that.
I'm gonna go sunrise. Fishing in the morning is the best.
Nice.
Favorite ice cream on a stick, like one of those, not ice cream out of the tub, but your favorite ice cream.
Can you do the motions?
Can you show me the hand gestures again?
No.
I'm not quite sure what ice cream on a stick
Just
means.
tell me.
Don't mind me. I'm going to break the rules on this one because I'm a bit more of an ice block man.
Oh, that'll do, yeah.
Just answer the question, mate.
I'm going to go for Frosty Fruits, mate. Good old Frosty Fruits, tropical.
Arj?
Mate, you are a Frosty Fruit. I'm going to say, going to old school, lock in a plain Magnum.
Buffalo Bill for me, but I do love a Cornetto as well.
Yeah,
and the last one, Donkey Kong or Crash Bandicoot?
Crash Bandicoot.
Donkey
Kong sucks.
No, I'm sitting on the fence for this one. I do enjoy both of them. I think if I had
Come on,
to pick
RJ.
one,
It's a Billy Madison, mate. It's Billy Madison, that's all.
Donkey Kong was good, mate. Donkey Kong.
Mortal Kombat's a good game.
Mortal Kombat, yeah, that was good too. All right, boys, wrap it up.
Love it.
From me, quickly, before we wrap, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Make sure you check out RJ's fundraising down in the bio. Support him. The guy's been an absolute beast running around the neighborhood in his weighted vest.
76 Ks.
You know, it's not hard when you've got a head like that absorbs and reflects the sunlight. So make sure get in there and support him. He does deserve it. We're also discussing the possibility, maybe in some future shows next week or the week after, of opening up at the end of the show for some of you guys to kind of join the stream, to come in at the end, ask us a question, make a comment, insult RJ or Rob. Throw some banter out. So keep an eye out for that too. And that would really just look like us chucking the link to StreamYard in the description. So if that's something you're interested in, we may look at that in the next couple of weeks, depending on the length of the episode.
Yeah, and also, Scott, I might mention the fact that you've seen our match reactions that we are doing on an ad hoc basis, but we are also doing some club-specific shows. So I've done one recently with Patrick Larson on a Chelsea monthly breakdown. I think Scott's also going to be looking into that. So this is just a bit of an insight into some of the different features of this channel that we're evolving. So continue to support us, guys. We're continuously got the metaphorical whiteboard out and trying to bring you fresh content as we go along. But thanks for your support, and please tell your friends. We are working hard here, and yeah, keep doing what you're doing. And until then, I think we'll close it out, guys. Any final words before we plug it?
Good. Take care.
Thursday night.
Take care, guys.